Hi and welcome to a special video about two of Denmark's possessions. To the left we have the Faroe Islands. To the right, along with some Danish coins for comparison, we have the rare coins of Greenland. Now, for both of these, as you can see that the Faroe currency is denominated kronor and not kroner, krone, but krona, kronor in the plural, and krona in the singular, as with Swedish krona, but with one of those at the top. Despite that, and the Greenlandic, but that one at least says krona. These are not separate Faroese kronor or Greenlandic kronor, but they are merely local varieties of the main Danish currency. So these are all valid Danish kroner, Danish crowns, but in the Faroese and respectively Greenlandic varieties. So let's check off with these 10 kronor tigju, which to my Swedish ears sounds a bit like 20 in Swedish, but tigju, or however you pronounce that, is apparently 10 in Faroese. It says it was issued with the support of Law Lög 248 of the 12th of April 1949. But it's not a 1949 issue, nor were there any banknotes issued in 1949. At least that I'm aware of. At the very least, not this particular banknote. The earliest of these ones were issued in 1954. And this red variety was issued up till 1971, which this particular banknote were issued. And the only way to see that is through the signatures. These two signatures were only existed in 1971, so it's a 1971 issue. But in 1978, they changed the color of the banknote. So it's the same, but it's green and it's a bit smaller. Now, the green 1978 issue with these signatures is the only version existing. Those particular signatures and this color, there is no other version. So if you see a green one, it's the 1978 one. You can also check on the other side. We have this beautiful view, and really interesting is a full-size picture, barely any white spaces, and the picture goes towards the very end. Seemingly a modern trend of banknotes these days, I believe, but this was already done in far back as these were first issued in 1954. So what's the history behind the Faroese banknotes? I don't believe they existed before World War II. In World War II, Denmark was occupied by Germany, and to protect the Faroese Islands, as well as Iceland for that matter, which were both Danish possessions, the British invaded and occupied the islands to prevent them from falling into German control. So the Faroese Islands issued emergency currency, and I believe Iceland did as well, due to being separated from Denmark. But for that matter, I believe, as we saw in the previous video, that Iceland already had a separate currency altogether that wasn't tied to the Danish crown anymore. So this, from the point of view of the Danish government, these unofficial issues of the Faroese or the Danish krona in the Faroese Islands were issued but not officially recognized by the national government, which also was under the strict supervision of the German occupiers. So, but by the law of 1949, Denmark recognized officially the issue of Faroese banknotes. So that's that. One from 1971 and one from 1978. Moving on, we have these. Let me say that Greenlandic coins and banknotes, which also exist, at least long time ago, because the Faroese banknotes are still being issued with newer designs, but the banknotes in Greenland were stopped being issued in the 1960s, so they exist then and prior, but not any newer versions. Although it has been discussed, it hasn't borne any fruit. So at the top here we have 1 krona in the pre-1940 version and the post-1940 version, this one in particular, in 1942 during the German occupation, but it was continued to be minted after the war. Unlike Norway, Denmark was allowed to retain their king during the occupation, because yes, they collaborated with the Germans. So this is the... oh shit. Let's not damage the expensive Greenlandic coins. So this 1 krona coin, this is the standard designs from the 1920s and onwards. Konge av Danmark, the King of Denmark, 1936. And as we shall see, it's the same font and basic design that was applied to 1926 issue of the Greenlandic coin, the 1 krona. But replacing the crown, we have a polar bear, an ice bear, and that's awesome. That's real awesome. Probably the only currency in the world having a polar bear. But if we compare, the Greenlandic 1 krona is a bit larger, actually, than the Danish 1 krona. And the reason for this, I don't know actually. I don't know why they aren't done the same. On the new one, but let's check if the new and yeah, because those are the same. The Zoom is not really doing favors today. Yeah, the old and new Krona was the same size, which was smaller than the Greenlandic Krona with the polar bear. So these were only issued. Here's the, I believe, the coat of arms of Denmark, by the way. Not the large one, but the small coat of arms. These were only minted in very limited quantities. We can say that Danish currency was and is still valid on Greenland, so really the need for specific Greenland coins is not that high, but I guess they wanted coins with polar bears on them. And we can see here that it says Grönlands styrelse, and you can probably pronounce that in Danish with a lot better than in my Swedish, but it means the government of Greenland in Danish. Greenland being a Danish possession. Someone will probably correct me that it's some kind of specific terminology, but basically a Danish possession. So this was first issued, or this version was only issued in 1926, and I think about 100,000 of them were issued. Then there were 5 krona coins issued in 1944 by the Americans, which occupied Greenland to protect it from the Germans. I believe the British occupied it first, but they were replaced by the Americans, so the British could focus on other things. That might have been the case for Iceland as well. So, except that one which is very rare, even rarer than these rare coins. New coins were not issued, or there is a commemorative version from 1951, I believe, that even has Greenlandic wording on it, the name of Greenland in the local languages. Except that one, this 1 krona coin, which we can see is more reminiscent of the newer krona design from 1940-ish. This one was issued in 1957, and in this side nothing about it says it belongs to Greenland, except the other side, which has the Danish coat of arms with a polar bear. And here we have Den kongelige grönlandske handel. The Royal Greenlandic Trade, 1957. So these ones are made in aluminium bronze, which I believe is the same material as the other Danish coins of this era, which gives this particular color. For example, the Swedish coin of this era were made of silver, so they are silver colored, but aluminium bronze gives this bronze brass look of the Danish coins. But by 1960, no, we had not transformed into silver, but I believe they changed to copper nickel, or I will correct myself in the text, but it's the same design as the previous coin, but in 1960 and in 1964 they just switched the materials of the coins. Otherwise it's the same design. They just changed materials. So unlike the first 1926 issue, which only had 1 year, these ones with this design exist in 3 different years, of 2 of which are in copper nickel. And we can see the coat of arms. Is that not a line? Yeah, it is. My bad. And yeah, and also in 1926 we also saw the only issue of coins, although there is banknotes, which are very rare, even rarer. But in 1926 we also saw the öre issue of the Greenlandic variety of the Danish krona. So this is 50 öre with a polar bear. It's a smaller coin, unlike the larger polar bear we can see here for the 1 krona. Also in a very nice condition. But otherwise it's Grönlands styrelse, basically the same design. Although this is a very nice coin. Shouldn't even be touching it with gloves, really, without gloves, really. But this is something really special because Denmark itself, the main variety of the Danish krona, did not have a 50 öre coin. At most it had this one right here, which is also for some reason smaller than the Greenlandic 50 öre. It's a half krona. Yes, it's a little half krona. Instead of having a 50 öre coin, they had a half krona. And this one had a limited existence during the 1920s. I believe it was also issued in 1926, sort of, with existed in the 1930s and in the 1940s. They were gathered up and melted down, apparently, so they are rather rare, actually. Not impossibly rare, but rarer, due to being gathered up and melted down. And yeah, this one is from 1926. 50 öre, de facto 50 öre, but denominated as a half crown. So 50 öre didn't technically exist, or the wording did not exist in the main currency, where it had the name of half crown instead, which is a smaller coin than in Greenland. And you might have been wondering, why were they gathered up and melted down? Well, to produce those ones, apparently. Don't ask me why, I don't know. They just did that. So that's the Faroe Islands and Greenland, and I already have a previous video on Iceland. Go watch that, and thank you for watching.